What if I told you that the most crucial shot to becoming an advanced pickleball player is probably something you're neglecting? Even if you already know how to use this shot, there are likely multiple things throughout this video that you're not paying attention to. I'm talking about the reset, which is the shot in pickleball that you use to slow down fastballs and drop them into the kitchen. If becoming a 4.0 plus player is your dream, then the tips we're about to go through might be just what you need to get over that hump. But before we get into it, if you're someone that's dying to get to that 4.0 to 5.0 level, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can get all of our weekly tutorials. Everything that we put out is meant to help you get better so that you can achieve your goals. So let's get started. The reset is a shot that you can use in a few key different situations. The common themes that you're generally more on defense, slowing down a harder shot into the kitchen so that you can get back into a neutral situation. It's really common for lower level players to go even harder when they're on defense. Just know that this mentality will not get you far. Advanced players know that if your opponents have control, the smartest play is usually to drop the ball into the kitchen to try to get back to a neutral situation. From here, you can work the point and try to be aggressive. So the most common time that you'll need to use a reset is right after you hit a third shot drop. Remember, the goal of hitting a third shot drop is to try to make it to the kitchen. Sometimes though, you'll need to hit another shot along the way in the transition zone. Here, you can use the reset to put the ball in the kitchen again so that you can keep moving forward. The second situation where you'll need to reset the ball is when you're already at the kitchen. Sometimes when we're at the kitchen, our opponents will accelerate on us. Like I said, for most players, the first instinct is to accelerate right back at them. But if you're in a situation where you don't have a good option, going big back at your opponents could be setting you up for failure. The better option here would be to use a reset and get back into a dinking rally until you find the right ball. The third reason you'll need to use a reset is when you get pushed back from the kitchen. Sometimes when we're at the kitchen, we'll accidentally give our opponents an easier shot that forces us to move back to get more time. From here, the goal is usually to slow down our opponent's harder shot and put it into the kitchen so that we can move forward again. While all the shots we just went to are different, there are some common themes that will make you way more successful across the board. These are the areas where I see so many players getting things wrong, so don't let this be you. The number one thing that kills players on the resets is their court positioning. If you aren't in the right position on the court, no matter how good your reflexes are, you'll still get killed. For instance, if you're too far forward on a bad third shot drop, your opponents will kill the ball at you and you won't have enough time to react. Looking at this situation, if you hit a good drop, you should move straight to the kitchen. If you hit a bad drop, you should stay back to defend. If your drop's just okay though, this is where you should move forward to about here in the transition zone so that you can reset the ball and get it into the kitchen. By getting to this position, you make it way easier to get the ball into the kitchen, and you also put pressure on your opponents by being closer to the net. The other time where we need to think about our position is when we're getting pushed back from the kitchen. The second that we see our opponents have an easier shot, our first instinct should be to take a step back. By giving ourselves just a little bit more space, we get an extra split second of time that makes it much easier to react for the ball. Sometimes you won't have enough time to move back, but if you do, it can be super beneficial to take one big step back to defend. The next aspect of resets that's crucial to your success is your body positioning. To start, let's focus on the legs. Whenever we need to react for a difficult shot in pickleball, we want to have a wide base with bent knees. This makes it way easier to explode in either direction and stay on balance when balls are getting smashed at us. Also, in this position, you can cover a lot of court just by lunging in either direction like this. If you're standing straight up and are off balance, it'll be significantly more difficult to react to these types of shots. So remember, always try and wait in a position that looks something like this. Another important thing to consider is that you need to be in this position before the shot is hit to you. If you're moving forward and you don't stop your momentum before your opponents make contact, there's a good chance that things will not end well. The way that you stop your momentum is with what's called a split step. A split step is where you jump into a wide base like this. You want to make sure that when you're landing, you're low and on the balls of your feet. The most important part of a good split step though is when you land. The goal is to time your landing so that it's just before your opponents make contact with the ball. So a well-timed split step looks like this. You should use this on resets to stop your momentum from going forward and to stop your momentum from going back. The other important aspect of your body positioning is your ready position with your arms. A good ready position normally consists of holding the paddle out in front of your body with the tip of your paddle leaning slightly to the left. When we're at the kitchen, your ready position should be at about this level. When we're at the transition zone though, our opponents will be trying to hit the balls at our feet. Because of this, it makes more sense to lower our position to about here. This puts us in the perfect spot to react to any shot. Moving forward, I want to go over what we should be thinking about with our arms when we actually hit the ball. One super important thing is that you're loose with your arms. Whenever we're trying to absorb power and hit the ball slow, we need to be loose in our arms and wrist. On a reset, you should be squeezing noticeably looser than if you're hitting a drive or a harder shot. If you're squeezing the paddle at a 5 out of 10 on your harder shots, you should aim to be squeezing at a 2 out of 3 on your resets. The main areas to focus on being loose are your hands and your wrist. This will give your paddle enough give to slow the ball down. Being tight with your paddle on a reset is a recipe for pop-ups. Looking at our swing itself, it's vital that we use a compact motion. The point of using a big backswing and follow through is to generate more power. So on a reset, the full motion should stay in front of our body. And we shouldn't follow through to the other side like we do on a drive. Do not be this guy. Also, try not to use any wrist on these shots. Pretty much all of the movement of our paddle here should be coming from our shoulder. Sometimes, when the ball is hit at us really hard, you don't even need to move your paddle at all. Occasionally, you may even need to move your paddle backwards a little. The key theme here though is that you're loose and using a compact swing. If you focus on these two things, the rest should take care of itself. So now that we know all the components of hitting a good reset, we need to think about our shot selection and when we should hit it. Like I said, when you're moving forward off a drop, the reset's usually your best option to continue your way to the kitchen. You can do this off the bounce and out of the air. When you're at the kitchen, you should use a reset whenever your opponents accelerate at you and you're making contact with the ball in the red zone. If you're making contact with the ball in the yellow zone, it's usually a good idea to use a reset here too. If they attack at you though and it's a little higher, you may want to try to go hard at their feet so you can win in a firefight. Why the reset's so important to breaking the 4.0 barrier is because you can pretty much use it from any part of the court to get back into the point. I will say though, the most important aspect to implementing this shot into your game will be functional practice. None of the information that we just went through will matter if you don't ingrain it into your game using the right drills. So now, I want to go over my few favorite drills that you can do to master the reset. Make sure to send this video to your main partner so that you can do these together. In this drill, one player is at the kitchen and one player is standing in the transition zone. The kitchen player is going hard at the other player's feet so they can work on resetting the ball in the kitchen. The reset player should be focusing on everything that we just went through. In this next drill, we're playing a half-court game where one player starts up and the other player starts back and tries to move in. In order to win, the back player needs to win 7 points and the front player needs to win 11 points. If you're the back player, this is where you can work on your positioning and your split step moving forward. Both of these will be crucial to your success throughout this game. Here, both players are at the kitchen, and while maintaining a rally, one player will speed up on every shot, and the other player will try to reset everything into the kitchen. Occasionally, you can give the attacking player an easy ball to work on your reactions. This drill is probably the best way to work on your resets for when you're already at the kitchen. If you don't have someone to practice with though, or you just want to get extra reps in on your own, there are multiple drills that you can do for your resets on the Dink Pad and Dink Master. Here, I'm working on my transition zone resets by spiking the ball at my feet. Here, I'm speeding the ball up at myself so that I can practice my resets at the kitchen. The possibilities for what you can train on the Dink Master are endless. You can do all these drills on a normal wall too. We just created the Dink Master and Dink Pad so you can have the perfect targets and references to simulate playing on a real court. If you want to check them out, head to the link in our description. And we've created a ton of tutorials to help you upgrade your game, so make sure to go through the rest of our channel to check them out.